got about one more minute. Okay.
Unmuted.
Okay. It is now 7:00 p.m., and I will call the meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call?
Vice President Anderson,
Here.
Counselor Blakely, I'll come back. Counselor Forbeck,
Here.
Counselor Keys,
Here.
Counselor Levy,
Here.
Counselor Preschel,
Here.
President Duncan,
Here.
Counselor Blakely.
And she's not muted.
Counselor Blakely, we do see that her line is active. I can come back to that, but we do have a quorum.
Now, we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Can everyone please stand and join me for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As posted, we're conducting the City Council meeting by teleconference. Thank you for listening. Staff has requested that item 6D be removed from the agenda. A development agreement is being negotiated, and both the final plat and development agreement will be brought back to the council at a future date. Therefore, item 6D is removed. I ask to move the city manager's report up on the agenda to inform the public about the city's response to COVID-19. City Manager Luther, can you please present tonight?
Good evening. Our community is watching parts of the state and the country reopening. Our own golf course is allowing play consistent with the governor's orders and with strict social distancing, and more businesses are offering curbside pickup and delivery services. So it may come as a surprise that Beloit is seeing a dramatic increase in the number of positive COVID-19 cases, but we are. Over the past 72 hours, we have seen a significant rise and no signs of reaching a peak soon. So while many essential businesses are experiencing impacts to their workforce, the most significant that we are aware of is coming from Bird's Eye Foods, located in Darien, Wisconsin. The plant is currently shut down, and we understand that the Walworth County Health Department is in the process of requesting assistance from the Wisconsin Army National Guard to help with contract tracing and testing. Bird's Eye employs roughly 800 employees, and those individuals, many of whom live in Beloit. We are uncertain how many individuals have tested positive, but we are seeing signs of spread right here in Beloit. So social distancing is as important now as it has ever been. We advise wearing a mask, even a handmade mask, when in public or any time you are within 6 feet from another individual. Do not socialize with people outside of your immediate household. We are learning more about this virus and are finding that it can be very dangerous for children as well as adults, unlike what we first believed. So please take precautions. We recognize that this is a stressful time for everyone, and our responsibility is to partner with the health department to make sure that the public is receiving timely, factual information. Please understand that even as reopening occurs in some ways, that does not mean it is safe to resume normal activities. The risk of infection to our residents continues to be very real, and we implore you to stay vigilant. Now, at the same time, if you are sick with any symptoms, please contact your healthcare provider or go to the hospital if it is emergent. They have created a safe environment at Beloit Hospital for people needing medical care unrelated to COVID-19. And they are concerned, as are we, about the number of people who are hesitating to seek treatment when they should. And those conditions are unnecessarily becoming much more serious. If you need help navigating all of the resources that are now available to us, 211 continues to be an excellent tool. Call 211, visit 211wisconsin.org, or you can text your zip code to 898-211. We want to thank the United Way Black Hawk region for assisting with the funding of the 211 system and all of the resources it provides. That concludes my report.
Under item 3 this evening, special orders of the day and announcements. The proclamations that I will be listing are available on the city's website. We will only be reading the final one tonight to alert the public about an upcoming virtual event. The first proclamation is declaring May 3rd through the 9th as National Travel and Tourism Week. The second proclamation is declaring May 10th through the 16th as National Police Week. Proclamation 3C is proclamation declaring May 3rd through the 9th, 2020 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. The fourth proclamation is declaring April 19th through the 25th as Municipal Treasurers Appreciation Week. And item 3E is a proclamation declaring May 17th as No Menthol Sunday. It reads, whereas No Menthol Sunday is a national observance day led by the National African American Tobacco Prevention Network and supported locally by the Wisconsin African American Tobacco Prevention Network. And whereas menthol is a minty cooling flavor that helps mask the harshness of cigarette smoke and e-cigarette aerosol. It allows smokers to inhale more deeply, aids in tobacco addiction, and makes smoking harder to quit. And whereas menthol cigarettes are the most popular tobacco product among African Americans. And whereas over 42% of Wisconsin adults smoke or formerly smoked menthol cigarettes, while nationally 40% of cigarette smokers aged 12 or older smoke menthols. And whereas the 2020 theme of No Menthol Sunday is Awaken, which encourages us to be aware of the tobacco industry's deceptive practices and stay up to date with current issues relating to tobacco use and prevention. And whereas No Menthol Sunday encourages faith leaders to talk about the importance of living healthy lives. And whereas No Menthol Sunday acknowledges that tobacco is a major contributor to the 3 leading causes of death among African Americans, that vaping and smoking can weaken the immune system and put individuals of all backgrounds at higher risk of severe illness or death from COVID-19. And whereas No Menthol Sunday recognizes people of faith and the important role they play in creating change by supporting those who want to quit tobacco. And whereas the City of Beloit joins Wisconsin African American Tobacco Prevention Network, faith leaders, and public health leaders in an interfaith effort to say no to the sale of mentholated and flavored tobacco products. Now therefore, the City of Beloit, Council President of the City of Beloit, does hereby proclaim Sunday, May 17th, 2020, to be No Menthol Sunday, and calls upon all community members to increase their awareness of the negative effects of tobacco use in order to promote the health and well-being of all. Presented this 4th day of May 2020. There are no public hearings under number 4, and so we move to public comments.
When the agenda was posted, we asked the public to notify us by noon today if they wish to provide any public comments.
Madam President, I did receive 2 public comments by email, and so I will read those. The first one is from James Springer, and the subject is EV charger at Ironworks YMCA. He says, "This comment is meant to inform you of an electric vehicle charger in the parking lot across from the Ironworks YMCA that is out of commission. Customer service is supplied by Green Lots, but they've informed me that the City of Beloit actually owns the charger and is responsible for its maintenance. Please fix this charger so my wife may charge her electric car. If the problem is funding, why don't you just bill people $2 per hour to charge their EVs? Some chargers bill a small fee per kilowatt per hour. I'm not asking for free charging. I'd rather pay more money to live in a city that promotes being good stewards of our environment and is actively trying to lower its carbon emissions. If you're trying to show that the City of Beloit cares about sustainability, maybe make the charger free for a couple of hours, then start charging $2 per hour for people who just leave their completely charged car loitering in the charging space all day. As always, thank you for your time and attention to this matter. I know that the City of Beloit will do the right thing and build a verdant society that we all want to live in. Very respectfully, James Springer." And the second comment this evening is in relationship to one of the proclamations earlier on the agenda. It is from Celestino Ruffini. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Visit Beloit. "We received 2019 data today related to the tourism economy in the state, and the highlights to focus on are: Rock County is now ranked 10th in the state, up 2 spots compared to 2018, and generated $263.6 million in direct visitor expenditures, which saw the 5th largest percentage increase in the state. Employing 4,343 individuals in the tourism industry, which experienced the 6th largest percentage increase in the state. And thirdly, generating $31.1 million in state and local taxes through tourism and had the 5th largest percentage increase in the state. Ultimately, the tourism industry had a banner year in 2019 and continues to be an influential piece of the economic revitalization efforts throughout the county. Thank you." Moving on to the consent agenda, all items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Would any counselor like anything removed from the consent agenda this evening? Can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a motion?
This is Counselor Levy. I'll move that motion.
Okay, Counselor Levy made the motion. Is there a second?
Yes, Nancy Forbeck.
Okay, there's a second by Counselor Forbeck. At this time, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Counselor Blakely. Counselor Forbeck.
Aye.
Counselor Keys.
Aye.
Counselor Levy.
Aye.
Counselor Preschel.
Aye.
Counselor Duncan, President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion carries. There are no licenses or ordinances on the agenda this evening. Moving on to appointments. Item 9A, the Council President Committee Board Commission appointments. I will read them. The 2020-2021 City Council appointments are Vice President Clinton Anderson to the Alcohol Beverage License Control Committee, President Duncan and Vice President Anderson to the Appointment Review Committee, Clinton Anderson to the Business Improvement District, Beloit, Downtown Beloit Association, Nancy Forbeck and Kevin Levy to the Community Development Authority, Mark Preschel to the Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors, Nancy Forbeck to the Equal Opportunities Commission, Sherry Blakely to the Landmarks Commission, Sherry Blakely to the Library Board, Nancy Forbeck to the Metropolitan Planning Organization, Brittany Keys to the Park, Recreation, and Conservation Advisory Commission, Mark Preschel to the Plan Commission, Mark Preschel to the Traffic Review Committee. And Clinton Anderson will serve on the Golf Committee.
Thank you, Clerk Sauer. Can I now have a motion to approve the appointments, please?
Nancy Forbeck, and I so move.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
I will make that second. This is Mark Preschel.
Second by Councilor Preschel. So we have a first by Councilor Forbeck, a second by Councilor Preschel. Are there any other questions or discussion on the motion? At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the appointments. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson,
Aye.
Councilor Blakely, Councilor Forbeck,
Aye.
Councilor Keys,
Aye.
Councilor Levy,
Aye.
Councilor Preschel,
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We are up to councilor activities and upcoming events.
Vice President Anderson, we'll start with you first.
Thank you. Just like everybody else, not much going on, but I would like to remind everybody, as it is getting nice out, please adhere to social distancing guidelines. Far too often have we seen people starting to kind of stray away from those, and I would just like to remind the community how important it is. It may be tough, but we still need to do that. So please maintain social distancing, and that's all I have today.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councilor Blakely. Councilor Forbeck.
Yes, I want to thank Lori for her report and her good use of data that isn't very good right now for Rock County and Walworth County. I'd also like to add that Rockford, Illinois is a hotspot in the nation right now for COVID. So I just pleased everybody. We're all tired of this, but now is not the time to not pay attention to these rules that are meant to help our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Forbeck. Councilor Keys.
First, I'd like to take a quick moment to recognize former Councilor Beth Jacobson for her years of service to the city, and echo the words of others from last meeting when I say that I hope to see her back with the city again soon. Second is another recognition. It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and so thank you, teachers. E-learning is not for the faint-hearted, and I greatly appreciate how quickly they too have adapted in order to continue to be there for our students. So if you can, please thank and virtually high-five a teacher this week. Third, I'd like to really recognize and thank all the city employees. It's a very stressful time, as well as recognize our healthcare workers and essential workers in Beloit for their dedication and efforts as you all provide essential services that we depend on. And finally, I'm very proud of the city's swift and proactive response to the current pandemic. Public health and safety remains the priority, and I'm very supportive of the city for filing the amicus brief supporting the governor's safer at home orders. And very thankful for the city and all the efforts with keeping us informed. So as the other counselors said, thanks again for everyone working to keep our community safe and healthy and continue to exercise precautions, social distancing, wearing masks, and staying home as able. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Keys. Counselor Levy.
No report.
Thank you, Counselor Levy. Counselor Pressure.
I wasn't going to have a report, but I will like to say, since right before the meeting started, I learned that Harlan Jefferson's brother just died from COVID-19. And I don't know if everybody knows Harlan Jefferson. He's played in a lot of venues around town. His band himself, his trio, Farmers Market, at Music at Harry's, at various outlets. And he's a great asset to the Rockford area and to the Beloit community too. He has a special love for us, even if he is a Cubs fan. And I want Harlan to know and everybody to know that this hits home. It hits home, and I feel his pain, and I wish him, he's in my thoughts, and I want him to know that. I want people to know that there are people close to us that are affected by this deeply. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you for sharing that, Counselor Pressure. And now my report. I want to iterate, just as my fellow counselors did, and thank our city staff and all of those working on the front lines with this pandemic crisis. This is certainly a priority for the city of Beloit. And then also, just so the public knows, for city updates, go to our Facebook page or our city website, and you can sign up for the Beloit report. And you can go, and you can do that by going to beloitwi.gov. Also, I would like to ask again, please take this serious. Please practice social distancing, wear a mask, wash your hands, and help each other. Next, we will go to item 11.
The city manager's presentation was already provided. So under reports from boards and city officers, item 12A is consideration of resolution 2020-75, approving a cooperative agreement between the city of Beloit and the Ho-Chunk Nation for the Collie Road and Willowbrook Road Build Grant Project.
City Manager Luther will give us a report on this item at this time.
Thank you. I'm going to provide a report for both items, although 2 separate votes will be required.
Thank you.
Look familiar. We brought forward in 2019 very similar agreements, both a cooperative agreement between the City of Beloit and the Ho-Chunk Nation, and also a approval to seek a build grant application. Unfortunately, the build grant was not successful in 2019. So given the fact that the federal government has recently provided its record of decision, we thought we should try again. So the first item on the agenda, the cooperative agreement, this is not a document that is required by the city per se, but it is required for the nation to be eligible to use Tribal Transportation Program funds. The nation receives federal funding for their own road projects and monitors and manages those locally. And so when we discuss local match, we are talking about dollars that are allocated directly to the tribe and not the city of Beloit proper. So this cooperative agreement allows for $2.4 million of Tribal Transportation Program funding to go towards the Build Grant project. On the next item of the agenda, you will see that we are requesting a grant application for a project that would be in excess of $12 million, nearly $13 million, if I recall. There would be $4.4 million in match that would ultimately be provided by the Ho-Chunk Nation. 2.4 million from the Tribal Transportation Program, and $2 million that they have already committed to pay through the intergovernmental agreement that is already in place, and those dollars are already tied and restricted to this particular infrastructure project. So we are talking about building Colley Road to be improved from Willowbrook to Gateway to a 4-lane urban section, and Willowbrook to be improved to a 4-lane urban section from State Line Road to Milwaukee Road. If we are successful and the grant is received, the city would need to amend its capital improvement plan in order to accommodate a project of this size. At this point in time, no dollars are being directly requested from the city itself. However, if we find that the grant is being approved, the council will have an opportunity to accept that grant at that future time, and there would also be an opportunity to review the project once it is bid if we are successful. So there are 2 additional opportunities down the road to evaluate the project costs, and if any additional local match should be required, there will be ample opportunity to weigh those costs and benefits in the future. I am prepared to answer any questions you might have, but in summary, those are the 2 items on your agenda for action this evening.
Thank you, City Manager Luther. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes, this is Nancy Forbeck, and I so move.
Okay, so there's been a motion by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
This is Brittany Keys. I'll second.
Okay, it's seconded by Councilor Keys. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, the report is very thorough, so no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion? Councilor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I just have a comment that this is good that the nation can pay for those major road improvements. So this is certainly a positive for the city.
Thank you. Councilor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Very thorough report, no questions.
Thank you. Councilor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No questions.
Thank you. Councilor Preschel, any questions or discussion on the motion?
I have no questions. The report was more than adequate, and this is a good development for that stretch of Colley Road. It's a long time waiting to get something going out there. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely. Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion carries. So 12B, the second part that City Manager Luther referred to, is consideration of Resolution 2020-74, authorizing and supporting the City of Beloit's 2020 Build Grant application.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution, please?
This is Mark Marshall.
Resolution.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilor Preschel, and I believe that may have been a second by Councilor Levy.
Levy. Correct.
Okay, thank you. So we have a first and a second on the floor. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion? Counselor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Counselor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Counselor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Counselor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
At this time, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Blakely, Counselor Forbeck,
Aye.
Counselor Keys,
Aye.
Counselor Levy,
Aye.
Counselor Preschel,
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That motion carries.
I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Levy.
Is there a second?
Second by Forbeck.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, will all in favor please say aye? We are now adjourned. This ends our city council meeting for this evening. Thank you.